I just want to go back for a moment to 28th of March 1983. I was just 13 and a half at the time. I was already enjoying movies at a young age, and we had 4 TV channels in the UK at that time: BBC One, BBC Two, ITV, and the recently launched Channel 4. Mostly I was watching John Wayne westerns. There were comedies, a lot of Harold Lloyd, Buster Keaton was still being shown. We had big event movies that were being shown at holiday times, such as The Great Escape and The Sound of Music. At the cinema, I'd been able to see my first James Bond, which was Roger Moore in For Your Eyes Only. And so, yeah, I was enjoying movies at a young age. But 28th of March, 1983, age 13 and a half, I got to stay up a little bit later than usual, and I watched, for the first time, The French Connection. And this movie absolutely blew me away. This was a movie, absolutely a movie. This was so exciting in so many different ways. The quality of the filmmaking, the editing, the gritty look and feel of it, the thrilling nature of it, the car chase, obviously, but most significantly, Gene Hackman's performance. And I had not seen acting like that before that movie. There was something so special about Gene Hackman's performance in that, the way that he delivered his dialogue, because it just didn't seem like he was delivering lines. It really felt something different. So many movies I'd watched before that point, you know, it felt like the actors were dealing with their scripts, but this was something so completely different. And yeah, his acting style in that just really, really stood out to me. I hadn't seen anything like it. I loved the movie so much so that I got this little notebook from 1983, and I just had to write down The French Connection. So this became my very first movie entry, and I then started keeping a diary of the movies that I was watching. And I've kept diaries on and off over the years, and in fact I still keep one now. I know nowadays obviously lots of people use Letterboxd, but yeah, I still keep a diary as well. But yeah, I absolutely loved The French Connection. And just thinking about Gene Hackman as well, I mean, this was the actor who was in Superman as Lex Luthor, and he was also being shown regularly on TV at that stage in the Poseidon Adventure. So we had this flawed, heroic character as the Reverend in the Poseidon Adventure. And so just those 3 films alone, seeing the diversity in Gene Hackman's character and performing style, just made him revelatory to me, and I just thought he was absolutely magnificent. And then as we move forward, then getting to see him in movies such as The Conversation, again, that just became a real event, watching that. And I couldn't believe even that he was in Young Frankenstein. It's like, how could he possibly be in that? But yeah, there we go. A couple of other of his movies that made a big impression on me when I watched them on TV back in the 80s were Bite the Bullet, I really enjoyed that one, and Night Moves from 1975. Frustratingly, I still do not actually have a copy of that one on physical media, although it is actually coming out as a Criterion edition later this month. In the late 80s and 90s, he may not have always been in particularly great movies, but certainly his presence always made a difference, and it was always good to see him on screen. So he certainly strengthened movies such as No Way Out and Mississippi Burning and Crimson Tide. But in more recent years, I found it really fascinating just to go back and have a look at his 1969-70 period. So remember, The French Connection came out in 1971, but he actually had 2 other films that year, and his performances in both of those films are really, really vile characters. So we have him as a corrupt cop in Cisco Pike, persuading Chris Christopherson to do his dirty work, and then in The Hunting Party, he's just totally despicable, raping his wife and then pursuing her with bloodlust as she takes off with Oliver Reed. It's the most despicable performance of his career, and definitely if you thought he was vile in his Oscar-winning performance in Unforgiven, then just have a look at The Hunting Party. Incredible stuff. But another one that really fascinates me is from 1969, and it's The Gypsy Moths, and it was directed by John Frankenheimer, who went on to direct him in The French Connection 2 in 1975. But The Gypsy Moths just really fascinates me, again, because we have a contrast of acting styles. Gene Hackman representing this sort of new style of actor, as does Scott Wilson in the film. And then we have Burt Lancaster and Deborah Kerr representing an older style of acting. So I find that film really, really fascinating to watch as well. And then the other one that's really fascinating to me, and I only got to see it just recently actually, and it's I Never Sang for My Father from 1970. He was Oscar nominated for his role in this, starring alongside Melvyn Douglas and exploring the father-son relationship after the death of his mother, wife of Melvyn Douglas. But yeah, really touching drama, and just interesting to see Gene Hackman play a film in a more theatrical style. But yeah, great work. So as I've been talking, I've been showing you the movies that I have of Gene Hackman in my physical media collection on laserdisc, DVD and Blu-ray. 47 titles, just one that I haven't shown you, which is Superman 4, The Quest for Peace. Yeah, that one's tucked away in a cupboard. Now I do have the movie which is the lowest rated of his career, which is Loose Cannons, where he stars alongside Dan Aykroyd. A very bizarre comedy, that one. Not quite as bad as I was expecting it to be, but certainly not a great movie. And again, you can't really fault Gene Hackman for his performance in it. And for me, of course, there are some omissions, movies that I would really like to have in my collection. So, like I said, I have seen Night Moves several times over the years, but I still don't actually have a copy of it. And other significant ones for me are Downhill Racer, a movie which I really like, but I don't have a copy of that. Scarecrow, I still have not seen, from 1973. Zandy's Bride is one I never liked, so I don't have a copy of that. I'm not even sure if it is available on DVD. And another one I've always wanted, but I just don't have a copy of it, is from 1983, and that's Under Fire. But yeah, although Gene Hackman retired from acting in 2004, it's nonetheless been very sad to hear of his passing, and particularly the slightly strange circumstances there, which I hope get resolved soon. But as with any great actor, we keep on enjoying their movies long after their passing. And the great thing is, yeah, for me, probably as with you, there are still great Gene Hackman movies for me to discover. And certainly I'll be revisiting plenty of the ones that I know well and love well. So yeah, The French Connection, just so important to me for being the first movie that I wrote down, the first movie that really felt like a movie to me, and particularly for Gene Hackman's performance in it. But what movies are really significant to you? Let me know your thoughts on that. Thanks very much for joining me on this tribute. Thanks. I hope to see you again. All the best to you. Bye-bye.